The markets have finally got that CPI number they've always wanted, a lot colder than expected. But before we declare the bottom is in, is this a genuine market reversal for crypto, or is it just a bit of hopium? Today we're going to look at how much this bounce can bounce, if that makes sense, and can it sustain? Now, the CPI data for June has been pretty good, very good. In terms of its consensus, it was 0.4% lower than expected. It actually fell from 4.2% to 3.5%. So that is a huge drop. I think it's the biggest drop or change since 2020. Annual core inflation also fell by 0.3%. Now, this doesn't mean that magically your milk and your meat are going to drop in price. It's just data, and it is always iffy anyways. But the reason why it's important is because of sentiment. It changes the narrative a little bit. Now, with a cooler CPI, this changes the narrative a little bit, doesn't it? Because it allows bond yields to fall. It also weakens the dollar and increases our strength with the risk on assets. And this is why Bitcoin's done what it's done. The Nasdaq has also bounced. Yes, the S&P has also bounced too. But with also the wider Bitcoin and cryptocurrency market with altcoins, they've done well with it because this is just how it is. It always does. This is why I used to do live streams back in the day, to cover this as a live reaction, because it always created a reaction. It just got a bit flat recently. But we do need to talk about, will it last? And that's the thing, sentiment. There's not much going around in the world of crypto right now. The news is a bit flat, I know. CPI is all we're clutching on to. The Fed target is still roughly that 2% level, whether that happens or not, and it feels like we've been saying that for nearly a decade now, pretty much. But there is still a need to see how much evidence we can keep going lower. War is not the best thing at the minute for spending, but whether things change or not is another thing. You've also got to remember, in America right now, there's a World Cup. Delayed lag with that may well come of an issue or not an issue. We don't know yet until them numbers are out, essentially. But energy prices have, yes, cooled, which is nice to see. So is it just lag? Because oil dropped quite a lot over the last 2 months, maybe. So we have to be very, very open-minded that this might just be a little bit of a blip in the road. Let's have a little bit of a look on the traditional markets, but this is kind of where we talk about the drops. This is the reaction of that CPI data. So yes, the dollar liked it a little bit for now. Same situation with the yields. They all kind of did the same thing. They kind of reacted a little bit, dropped off a lot. But again, we talk about the S&P 500. The reaction was obviously very, very bullish. We went up. So it is one of those things. It was positive for the market. And again, we can talk about oil. Oil's an interesting one. Didn't really do much, but ultimately it's still kind of floating around. But it has been rising over the last couple of weeks if you zoom out a little bit. So that's a one to keep an eye on. As I said before, it might be a bit of a laggy data point. Let's look at the world of crypto. On my website, I have got a big old market screenshot thing. This is changing. I'm going to be doing a lot more detail to it. If you are wondering, you do get this all with a Discord, with Patreon, with videos. So basically, long story short, if you are interested in some data, some information, I am going to get some more API data on here. It's a bit laggy at the minute because I'm not using the best providers. I'm still trying to figure it all out, but it will get better over time. But in terms of the market data, we are still in extreme fear. There's a bit of a better situation around the risk on, risk off side of it because things are starting to get a bit more bullish. But still, the playbook is still pretty much rangy, selective entries. Wait for that confirmation because we've been in a situation where I think a lot of people are getting burned, pretty much. And we do still have, over the course of time, stronger outflows on the ETFs. You got to remember, people who are using the world of obviously crypto for investment opportunities as an ETF provider, whatever, they may not like the volatility. So just be mindful of that. Now, again, going to Bitcoin, it liked the news. We went right the way up, but we are ranging here. The question is, where does this bounce go? I think every single bounce we've had over the last couple of months have been pretty weak. You know, you could talk about this from like obviously June, talk about this bounce as well, not the best over the course of time. But that is a very, very bearish thing to say, but logic, because that's what's happened in the past. We could talk about total market capitalization. We could talk about obviously the stablecoin dominance, Bitcoin dominance, but the situation is very, very clear. We're still quite weak. Yeah, we've had a bit of a divergence. Yeah, we're starting to put our head up a bit on the momentum side of it with the RSI, but there's not really, in my opinion, clear conviction that we are going wherever we're going. It just seems that we're just going to go down and down and down. Ethereum's another one. Ethereum is an interesting one. It got above this level, which I was looking at as an interesting point. But still, when you look at the grand scheme of things, this is still at a level of resistance now. Now at the 0.382 for Ethereum, certainly for this break of structure. So just be mindful of it, because often you find with the data and the news and what Trump might do next, it might not be the best thing, because it might just lead you into a level of resistance where there's a lot of bears camping and it might well just go lower. We need more. We need more juice, more volume, more interest, more information, and that will help us. But when you look at the world of Bitcoin actually not doing enough, that makes you think, hold on a minute, because that matters in a way, because obviously Bitcoin dominance is a huge factor. It's still quite high, realistically. Dominance of Ethereum is still not really reacting much. It's doing something, but this is still very, very low versus where it's been before, as you can see. So it needs to really start moving, but whether it does or not is another side of it. Again, stable currencies. This isn't really falling, is it? So there's a lot of question marks here, and I don't like that. And I think it should be clear and obvious, but it's not. And that's the big awful part of it, because there's a couple of areas we need to focus on realistically here. Now, the unlikely scenario is we've got three. The unlikely one, in my opinion, right now, and the reason why I say this is because I don't think we've had enough of a hellish period, or we've not had enough accumulation, is the bottom is in. I think that is the least likely at the minute. I see a lot of people on X talk about the bottom is in, and I get it. But when we look at the charts, yeah, it's down a lot, but it could probably go lower, because for me, these areas feel more brutal. And I don't know if that's just me with the past, but we're not having much blow up. As I say, I see people on X talk about it, oh, it's been brutal. It's been boring. That's why the videos have dropped off. That's why people don't care as much. That's why that's the thing that probably is worse for most people, because they cannot sustain an income because their views have dropped. I get it if influencers are talking about that. But yes, further CPI might help, further interest might help. Reclaiming areas of interest and capturing the bears, whatever, might be fine. But there's still not enough of you know what I mean? There's not enough interest or a drive. So that's the least likely. For me, I think more likely, I think this bounce will get rejected. And I think we will bounce up into those zones and probably get captured here. Low sentiment, low volume, bears will go, and then we drop lower and find better liquidity lower down where the opportunities lie. That's my personal thought on it. The kind of the iffy one might be this is accumulation zone, and this area is the bottom, but we need it confirmed first, and it might well go in and around and drop around here. So you got two more unlikely scenarios, but they're kind of combined together. But for me, when we look at the past, that isn't enough for a bottom configuration or an accumulation around that point, because when you look at the past, Bitcoin could sit for 8 to 12 weeks at a low and then finally bottom out. So we've not done that yet. And that's kind of more what Bitcoin likes to do. And if we are looking at like what's happening elsewhere, when we look at this, for example, right, this is the altcoin market. We are higher than what we were, realistically. You can see these little areas, and we've been sideways for a long time. Nothing's happening. So the question is, will altcoins get a reaction? I don't know. That's the ultimate question. Don't know. It could get a reaction at lows with low liquidity, but the question I have to anyone here who's listening, if Bitcoin drops, say, $10,000, what will altcoins do? Probably go and revisit some of them lows. So just be mindful. If you're interested in trading some traditional market stuff, which I will be doing very, very soon, just for a bit of fun, check out Mexis. This is SpaceX. Remember the hype about that? Reminds me of an altcoin. So yeah, if you want to trade that without being stuck on brokers and stuff, and you just want to use your stable currency because there's more volatility in the market, check out the link below. Jump in. But it is still far too early to say, is this the bottom? Or are we going to reject completely? Let's just see where it takes us. If you've done so, please do like the video and subscribe. I'll see you in the next one.